Welcome to Confessions of an SEO. This is your host, Carolyn Holzman. For anybody who's new, I'll give you the short version of what this podcast is all about. And I call it Love Letters to the SEO, to the SEO industry, and to the businesses that they serve. I believe the farmers and the cowboys should be friends. I think there's a lot of business to be made when we can work together. And from my particular vantage point, I've seen a lot of times where they don't. So I want to do whatever I can to make that pathway smoother. And so sometimes I'm really hard on the SEOs and sometimes I'm really hard on the business owners. And I feel like I can do that because I either was one or I am one. That's pretty much it. If you're here looking for the latest SEO tricks and tips, please let me know because I can give you some referrals to other shows that are probably more along that line. I'm really here to provide support to the SEO industry. Sometimes I share stories of things that happened to me, and today will not be an exception. I'll use one of my stories to illustrate the fact, part of I think the source of my greatest growth as an SEO is now being able to look at real data and understand a little bit more about the math of it. I'm not a mathematician. I do not program, but I pay attention, and when you can see the patterns, you kind of get the feel for, okay, this is the game we're playing. Bottom line is it's always a relevancy game in SEO. The difference is does Google value different factors? Does it reassess how much weight it gives to them? And this all makes sense, I'm sure, to an SEO. To a business owner, it's the very, very frustrating part about SEO is that what worked for you 10 years ago is probably not working for you now. And it's not your SEO's fault. It's not your fault. It is the fact that search engines have changed. Anybody getting into SEO right now, if you do not have access or the ability to get the core data for any, for what you're trying to do in the search engine, you're really flying blind. And I say that with great love and affection because I know for myself, early on, everything was flying blind. We were all flying blind. But I think the slow awareness that is accurate, I think it's a fair assessment. We are working in an environment, playing a game, where we have to assess what's happening in the SERPs so that we can infer what the rules are. So that's why I talk about, if you know what the rules are, and they change, and you're not going to be told the rules, but really the game is the ability to identify when those rules change and to do so faster than your competitors. So here's a funny story. In 2019, I was working with the international SEO agency that I was running the on-page team. I had several, projects, several clients, couple of dozen, wasn't a full dozen, was it? No, it was a couple of dozen, right. And so they ranged widely. One of them was a locksmith in a large U.S. city. And I share this because, when I inherited this, someone had been in charge of this project before I was. It was ranking on page 1. It was ranking in the maps. It was ranking organically. They had Google guarantee. And in fact, it was kind of like a perfect world. It's like, all right, all of that is going really well. What are some areas where can I increase the number of keywords that they rank for? In the maps, can they rank out further away from where their office is? Further out, more miles out? Those are the kinds of things, like when you have really a meaty project and everything's working well. And everything was working well until December 15th, 2019. If you understand what rank trackers are, you can see where your target is for various keywords. And on that day, I saw every keyword for that site was ranking for that it dropped. It was like a big fat stone dropping in a big, deep ocean. Shocking, upsetting. I felt terribly responsible. I didn't know what I did. Other people had a similar experience. Not everybody, it wasn't across the board. But there were a lot of people in the community that were noticing these things. And so the question is always, well, is it something on the page? Like, are the densities different? Or did we get killed from backlinks from a competitor? Or is it somebody else? But the fact that it just kept going down and down, I just it perplexed me. And it perplexed me until 2 weeks ago. The difference being is that that's when I got access to a pool of data that comes from a lot of SEOs use similar software. And one of the cool features of this software, and I've mentioned it before, it's Core, it's been developed by Ted Kubitis. In that shared data, you have the ability to kind of look backwards a little bit. Well, guess which date I looked up? December 15th, 2019. And there in black and white, I saw the reason why. And it had everything to do with not backlinks, not keyword density. During that period of time, Google valued traffic more than on-page and backlinks. So no wonder this site was dropping, because there was very little traffic to the website. I mean, I don't know how you are. If I'm looking for something like that, I'm usually in a hurry. So if they're in the maps, I'm going to check them out in the maps, hit that little phone thing and call them. And, I'm not going to go to the website. And the relief that I felt, the irony is, and this is why, it was all happening, why I was the one that was the most upset about this. The client wasn't, because apparently the client had stopped paying like 6 months previously, but nobody told the team. So we were working on this website. So the funny thing is that it gave me a great environment to work in without the client backlash, because I'm sure they probably thought the reason it happened is because they left. But anyway, all of that to say that without having that data, it was, what would I do now? Like if that happened today, if I saw that, and I saw that the factors had changed, very likely I would have been able to counteract that a little bit. Not going to tell you how, but that's just the kind of thing that, when the rules have changed and you know what they are, what specific rules changed, then you can adjust course. And I think this is so essential for us as SEOs, because we have to be able to identify where our responsibility sort of ends and Google's responsibility begins. And if you can be able to see what is changing, you can prepare your client. They may not like it, but the bottom line is you don't own Google. You don't own it. You can't cajole them into doing something. And quite frankly, I have to say, when I see on Facebook SEOs that are quoting Google chapter and verse on certain things, I almost have to laugh, because I'm like, why would we want to take Google's word for anything? And I know that sounds like really like, well, Carolyn, what else can we do? And that's what I'm telling you, is the data will tell you. It'll tell you what you need to know. So if you're ever curious, if you'd like to get access to that software, if you're curious, I can certainly get you that information, and you can try it out and check it out yourself. Anytime you as an SEO can find out things on your own experience and with your own eyeballs and your own tests, that's going to be how you break free of the tyranny of being stuck in that no man's land. And having been someone stuck in that no man's land, I really want to pull as many people out of it as possible. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this week's episode. I'm going to work on getting more of the previous episodes transcribed and put on the website, as well as made into videos. So look for all that as well. Just really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, please send them to confessions@AmericanWayMedia.com. All right. Thanks so much. You guys have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.